All right. Hello, class. I'm here with Dean Bigger. My name's Isaiah. I'm going to ask you a couple questions about coeducation, and hopefully we'll all learn a bit firsthand about how it went down when Wofford integrated.
Cool. Great.
So, growing up, did you see yourself going to college? Was it an early goal or something that you decided to do later on?
Great. That's a great question. So not many people know this, but I was one of 7 children. I was the 4th of 7 children, so I was the perfectly well-adjusted middle child. And that's a joke. And if you knew me, you'd know. And so my father went to college, and he went to graduate school, but my mom had not gone to college. So I was kind of one of those families. She had taken a college class, but so I consider myself kind of half first generation. But yes, so it was expected that I would go to college. My older brothers and sisters had gone to college. And so I went to a private school in Aiken, South Carolina, and my guidance counselor said, this college has a good reputation and it's going to start admitting women. You should look at it. And so I applied to and got into a school in Minneapolis, Minnesota, Washington, D.C., Dallas, Texas, and then Wofford was the only school in South Carolina to which I applied.
Wow, cool. So were there other factors besides that recommendation that made you choose Wofford for applying and then later coming? Or?
Well, the Wofford Scholars Program used to be called the King Teen Program because it was all male. And so I was actually in the King Teen Program.
Yeah.
And because we were in the process, Wofford was in the process of going co-ed. So I came up and and they actually put us up in a hotel because women didn't live on the campus, and met people who later became my friends who were in that program.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I'm friends with the people I met doing Wofford Scholars.
Oh, good.
Cool. How many women were in that original class?
In my class, in the year I moved onto campus, there was about 60 women living on campus, and we lived in a residence hall called Whiteman Hall. That is where the science building is now. Cool. It was torn down, and the Millikan Science Center was built over it.
Awesome. So, did being in that first class of women affect your decision at all, or what were you thinking as far as coming to the school?
So I was actually in the second class. There were 30 women in the class above me, and so they were very encouraging, and we created organizations for women. We had club volleyball, and I have a photograph to prove that I was on the volleyball team. And so it was, and you might be in a class, you might be in a class by yourself, or maybe there was just one other female student. But to me, it was kind of like being in high school, because there were men in your class and a woman or 2 in your class. And the faculty were very receptive and welcoming, and the administration was glad we were there.
Yeah.
So it was a fun time.
That's really cool. So some women felt as if their every action was observed just because some people weren't used to having them in the classroom so much yet. Did you feel similarly at all?
I know there were times that just like today when students get stressed out about exams and things that are going on campus. And so, you did feel like, that I wouldn't necessarily use that term that you were living in a fishbowl, but you did know that you wanted to be successful and you wanted other women to come here and follow in your footsteps.
Sort of like paving the way.
Right.
Yeah. Awesome. So you said volleyball, but what else were you involved in while you were at Wofford?
My sophomore year, I was elected president of a group called the Association of Wofford Women, which later disbanded when sororities started getting established here. So we would meet, and then we would go tell the administration what we needed. So it was kind of like a women's version of student government.
Wow, awesome. So did you notice, did you feel limited at all in things you could join because of the fact that you were one of the first classes, or?
I don't think I felt limited because I was a female, but just like today, you get to Wofford and you're the top of your high school class, and you get here and everybody's smart and intelligent and driven, and you feel like, oh my gosh, you don't feel it like you did in high school.
No, I was talking to my friends about that the other day. I feel like it's really cool.
Yeah, the level of competition.
Yeah, you can have an intelligent conversation with anybody.
That's right.
Yeah, but so this question's a little bit longer, but Pam Mason, a student in the early 70s, and she was actually another leader of the Association of Wofford Women. said a lot of people think girls go out looking for dates, but they're wrong. The female students at Wofford are there to get an education. So was the culture sort of similar to that in the way, like, did people sort of see you academically, or was there still some leftovers of women are only here to have fun?
Well, I remember the first time I was a freshman and heard someone say, "Are you here to get an MRS degree?" And I said, "What's an MRS degree?" And then they were doing Mr. and Mrs. And but all of my friends were either pre-med or pre-law, and they're now physicians and attorneys. And so I found that the women at Wofford, and especially those who stayed and didn't transfer, were very focused and driven.
Doing research today, one of the things that what people argued for women to come to Wofford was that the women are normally highly motivated, and that the competition would probably help the guys do better. Right. So that's really interesting to hear.
Well, and if you look at the honors convocations that we have now, I think a majority of women win the top academic awards from most of the departments.
Dang. So so I guess have you seen that culture change since you've been on campus? Has that been cool to watch, I guess? Sort of.
It has been a real blessing in my life to be able to see Wofford go from this small South Carolina college that was historically all male and mostly all white to a fully coeducational national liberal arts college with a Division I athletic program and athletics for women, which is phenomenal. And the campus is so much prettier than it was when I was a student. It's just, Wofford is just thriving, and it's people say, "Why don't you ever leave?" But each year's been very different, and each year the college continues to get better. I mean, I think my degree is better because of what's happening now.
Definitely, that's amazing. Yeah, I definitely feel like I'm in a very gifted time to be here with all the new buildings and how pretty it is. Like, it is awesome. But that's awesome. So how does it feel to be the first or one of the first full-time female students and the first female dean of students?
Thanks for asking. I remember how nervous I was when I accepted the position of dean of students, and it comes with this beautiful house, and I didn't know when students might be popping by. So I think the first year I lived here I was really anxious. But now I'm so used to it after 24 years that I just love having students come to the house. I love entertaining. I love, as I said, watching the progression of the college. And now there are other women on the president's cabinet, but I was for a long time the only female on that in that group. And so on the one hand, you kind of think of that as a privilege, but on the other hand, you also realize you need to help others get to that level.
And it's almost like, I guess, pressure almost, but in a good way.
Right,
probably.
Exactly.
Awesome. And you've spoken to this already a bit, but finally, what has motivated you to stay with Wofford so long?
I think in addition to the fact that the campus and the college is a better institution, the leadership that I've been able to work with, I've worked for 3 presidents, Dr. Joe Lassane, Dr. Bernie Dunlap, and Dr. Samhat, and the fact that you form relationships with students. And so it didn't take long after a few years where student leaders who I'd worked with, or like RAs, they would invite me to their weddings, or they would invite me to their children's christenings. And so once you stay for a decade and then longer, you have all these relationships with current students, former students, their parents. I just love homecoming and family weekend because it's like a big reunion.
That's awesome. So your Wofford family is huge by now.
Absolutely. And I don't have a lot of hobbies like, people play golf or tennis. And I was telling one of my friends, I wish I had a hobby. And they said, Roberta, Wofford is your hobby.
Yeah.
Because really I'm here night and day and on the weekends. So it's been a great life.
Well, I'm thankful Wofford has you. And
well, thank you for coming
answering
over.
The questions. Yeah, I'm excited to show people this video.
Great. And Class B is still really good too. That's my advice.
Right. All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Enjoyed it.
Yeah, awesome. All right.
Great.